welcome to another installment of our 3.2 Carrera rebuild project. Still working on the engine today. We got the intake manifold taken off in the last video, so if you haven't seen that, go back and see that. That's kind of nuts as well. But today's work is going to be the exhaust system, and it's pretty extensive. It kind of goes all over the place here. I want to remove it for a couple of reasons. One, it's super heavy, and two, for access, at least on this side, the catalytic converter's underneath here and it's kind of in the way. Well, at any rate, it's a big system. It comes out here and then heads over that way, goes through the cat, goes through the muffler, back out, now finally out the tailpipe. And it also, of course, has our heating system as well. So these are the heat extractors here. It's kind of nutty. Also, in order to get to some of the cap nuts there's these holes in the heat extractor, and it takes a very special tool. This is an 8mm hex, but it's about 6 inches long or so. In order to get to these bolts, you have to go through these holes in here and hook up with this cap nut that's on the base here. Jeepers. Then the other thing is you got these other nuts here. Now we want to be very, very careful with these. We do not want to break a head stud. That's my biggest worry about all of this. The rest of these nuts and bolts are terrible. They're really bad. I've been soaking everything in PT Blaster and liquid wrench for a couple of days, so I'm hoping that's going to help. I guess we'll see, huh? But this hardware I can replace. It's this head studs and things. I just don't want to break a head stud, so kind of a little worried about that. At any rate, I think I'm going to work my way from the outside in, possibly remove some of these covers and just kind of whatever seems to make sense. I think this muffler is also going to come off first as well. Well, this should be entertaining. Some of these bolts and nuts just are pretty frozen on here, so I'm going to get to it. My goal is to get this guy off first, I think. It has two connections here on this flange for the actual muffler. We need to take that off next anyway, so I'm going to try and get these are all 10mm and the flange are 13. All right, here we go. See, that one's not too bad, obviously. Is that even coming up? Not really. Well, I think the whole nut is spinning. Okay, let's try this one. There we go. That sounds a little bit better. Okay, we got our first one off. Yay! Let's try this one over here. Wow, that's pretty solid. Oh my. How about this one? There's our first broken bolt of the day here, so that's a bummer, huh? Look at that. Oh well. That was certainly to be expected. These are just terrible. It's one reason why I'm using such a short ratchet, just so I don't put too awfully much pressure. If I can just kind of coax it out, that's great. But I don't know, these just, I don't think they're gonna go. They're just gonna break. Oh, there it goes. Oh, the very end of it, it's similar to the first one. The very end of it is just completely... All right, we'll move on to this one. Oh, that one's almost feels like it wants to move. Bang, bang. I think I will switch to a little bit larger. Oh, we've got a piece that's broken below it. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that's that. All right, let's try this one. Well, that's that one. There's bolt all over the place. There's one down here as well. We'll go ahead and loosen this one. There it goes. I didn't expect this one to be quite as bad. Figured it'd probably come right off. All right, okay, great. Well, holy cow, I tried to get to it from cutting off the bottom, but it's a little bit enclosed in here, a little hard to get to, so I ended up kind of chopping through the top with just an angle grinder here, and I've got the top pretty much broken off here. There it goes. Boy, it's still being stubborn, huh? Oh, there's still a bit here that needs to be ground off a little bit. There we go. Finally. Oh my gosh. Holy cow, that was a pain in the butt. Well, we still have one more here in the center, which I imagine is going to be just about as much fun. It's this one that's over here. Okay, well that's our last stuck fastener. This should come off now. There we go. All right, this one was left on here. It's totally rusted. I'm gonna have to cut that one off as well. So all these things really are just clips here that are sitting over the top of these things. So I'm just gonna have to replace them all. Well, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit, see if I can get the bolts off the muffler side here. All right, this one seems like it's cooperating at least. That noise means that we need a little more lubricant on it. There we go, that sounds better. Okay, good. Well, look at that. At least we got one of them to come off, huh? So that's the state of these bolts. I mean, they're really, really bad. Obviously not going to reuse them. They're pretty destroyed. This car, you know, it's an 86, and I doubt seriously this bolt's ever been loosened up except when it was put on in the factory. So, yikes, huh? Now I did spray these bolts quite a bit with PT Blaster and with liquid wrench, actually. I've been doing it for days. I mean, it's the best chance you're gonna have is to do that, and if the bolts are not in super, super bad shape, like the other ones are, then you do have some possibility of getting these things off if that penetrant can really get into those threads. So here we go, and there's our little plate here as well. Bolts in not much better condition, it looks pretty bad as well. Yay! All right, yay, we got it out. That's just the same as the other ones, pretty bad. Lots of rust in the shank as well. So that's what, and in the threads. And really what happens is that these, you know, the nut starts to come off or maybe moves a little bit, and then there's so much rust in the threads that it just gets bound up in the inside the nut, and it's kind of done. Next, I'm gonna try my luck at these cap bolts here that are just holding these straps on. I've also been soaking these for days, so hopefully a little better shape. You know what? No. Okay, let me get a wrench on the bottom and see if that helps. There we go. All right. So the hot setup there was to put a 16 millimeter at the base here to hold the strap, because you'll just tweak the strap. There's no way you're gonna get this thing to go. Now again, I'm gonna throw a little lubricant on these threads because they're pretty bad at the bottom. I'm going to leave a few threads kind of still in the base of this. I don't think much else is really holding the muffler on, just this other strap. So it might get a little dicey here, so I just want to make sure it doesn't fall. It's an interesting noise. It's not a super good noise. There it goes. There we go. A little more love here. A little love on the threads. There we go. Yep, that's what I figured. Not much else holding the muffler on. All right, we're loose on our flange here as well, so that is pretty much only this strap is all that's holding the muffler on. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull one of these completely out. There we go. And then the other one. There we go. There we go. All right, well there's the muffler. That sounds a little interesting in there, huh? Sounds like waves at the seashore. It also, you know what else it sounds like? A ton of rust inside the muffler is what it really sounds like, or maybe carbon bits or something. Yeah, Well, I'll have to see what all that stuff is. I'll shake a bit of it out and see if it is rust or carbon. That's for another day, I suppose. So great, well we got our muffler off and that's pretty awesome. I'll go ahead and put this aside. Well, we've had a little bit of success here. I was able to bang a socket onto the back of the bolt and put something on the back side of it, just a wrench on the back side of it, and the bolts twisted, which is great. It's exactly what I was hoping they would do, and just split in half. That will save me from having to grind as many of these things off. So this one's gonna be a bummer, and let's go ahead and give this one a try. I'm kind of hoping the same thing will happen. Now we just sort of line this up as best we can here. These are so bad that these are are 12. I thought these were 13s. They've swollen so much. They're actually 12s, and I've got a 6-point socket here and a 3/8 inch drive. So I can feel it kind of wants to be about there-ish. I'm gonna bang it on. I think that's mostly on. Let's go ahead and put the ratchet on and see where we get. So we can see that the other end of the bolt is just turning. So we'll see if we can lock that down and hopefully snap this bolt off. Or not. There, that's back in a little bit. See if we can now go out a little bit. That's easier, that's for certain. Just trying to work some of that PT Blaster liquid wrench into the threads a little bit. Okay, look at that, huh? Well, our nut is firmly implanted into the socket because we banged it in. There's the bolt. That's what we're looking at there. Pretty done, pretty rusty, huh? Now I can just take a punch very quickly and just sort of pop this guy out. Got it out. Yeah, it's sort of seen better days too. All right, well that's just one less we don't have to grind off. Woohoo! 1, 2, 3, we got 3 out. That's pretty good, 4 actually. We've got 2 more on this flange that are gonna be a real bear, I think, that are gonna have to be ground. This one, see what I can do about this on the back, but I just don't think I'm gonna be able to loosen this up. I had to break out the power tools on this one. I grabbed my grinder and went to town on that nut. My idea was to just cut it down on one of the faces far enough that I could start hitting it with a screwdriver and sort of splay it open a bit. Then just a few more taps with a screwdriver and I could get it to come free. Yay! Okay, well that's it. So I just kind of broke the nut in half. You just kind of cut one face of it off and then just bang on it until it just sort of splays around the actual nut. So there we go. That's that one. Now this final bolt on this side is a little bit occluded. It's pretty hard to get to, and with the grinder I don't know if I can get to it. I could probably get to the other side of it. What I'm going to try and do is just sort of pound open the nut. I don't know if it'll work or not, but we'll give it a try. I have a air impact chisel here, so let's see if that works. I don't know. We'll give it a try. Well, it made a notch in it. Well, holy cow, that actually worked pretty well. And that's it. I think we've got them. So this whole manifold, holy cow, I think we're ready to get our cat off. Very excited about that. It's fairly, it's fairly rusted. There it goes. Yeah, it was pretty rusty. Look at that. All right, yay, cat is off. Ugh, pretty heavy. I think this thing weighs more than both of our cats put together. Well, I've whacked this one on as well. Had to pound it on. Hopefully it'll hold on. It's the nut on the back that's probably gonna break loose, but we'll see where we get with it. Oh my gosh, there we go. Oh, there it is. This one's gonna be a problem. All right. You can kind of see it turning there, huh? I'm happy if it just snaps off. What I don't want it to do is round over the nut. That's what I'm the most worried about. Yeah, there's that noise again. If we go back and loosen it up a little bit. It's pretty loose at this point. I'm going to take this guy off while I've got the leverage. Well, unbelievable, got it out. Let's move on to the next one over here and see if we can get that one off as well. You know, they're so bad, it's hard to even find where it should be. I think that's it. Here we go, I'll go ahead and put some power on it, see if it will break loose. It's going to snap the bolt. Oh no, it started to turn the bolt on the other side. Bang our open end wrench on. Hit it with a little bit more love here. Liquid wrench, PT Blaster, whatever it takes. That's going to rotate this wrench down until it stops. There we go. There. I'm turning and I can see the bolt on the other side is not turning, which I think hopefully will mean that it will snap this bolt. There it goes. Bingo bango. So that's that. That's perfect. I'm not going to use these bolts anyways, and that just makes it super easy to get off. The final one here on the bottom, access just looks like it's going to be almost impossible. And I'm still going to have problems with it on the back side there because it's going to interfere with the stand. So let's see if we can get this guy off. I've got my power hammer guide chisel thingy, so we'll see if this thing can beat the crap out of that thing. It's in a weird spot, but we'll see if we can get to it. So, all right, well, that was our last super stuck bolt. We still have all the bolts, all 12 of them actually, on the extractors here. What I'm gonna do at this point is, because these have been just so darn difficult, I'm going to soak them yet again and leave them overnight a couple of days, I think, before I get to them. With our cross pipe and our cat off, the next step is gonna be to get these extractors off. Now, this is the bit I've been the most worried about. The cap nuts on this and the regular nut on the other side are pretty corroded, actually. You can kind of see here, they're still pretty darn corroded, and I'm pretty worried about them. This guy's not in much better shape over here either. It's just really bad. Now, I've got an 8mm hex with a long extension to go through these holes to get down in there. But I want to talk about this a little bit. We had one of our viewers write in and he said, you know, what you really want is a T. You don't want a ratchet. I'll show you what he's talking about. As we put this thing in here like that, let's pretend this is a ratchet like this. If you push like this, you're pushing quite a bit this way and you have to pull back and it kind of gets all wobbly and there's a chance you could strip this. What he's saying is what you want to do is you want to be able to push and pull simultaneously and push down at the same time to keep the tool from riding up and stripping out. And that's going to be a thing. So we really, really don't want to strip these cap nuts out. They're going to be very difficult to get out if we do. I have been soaking them for like a week and a half and testing them. I was able to get 2 of them loose on the other side, which is great, but I still have 4 more to go. But for these nuts that are over here and this stud, I think what I want to do is I want to start out with Dremel and a little wire brush on it here and clean up the top of that a bit just to kind of keep debris out of it, and hopefully the nut will pull up a little bit easier. Hopefully, we'll see. So what I'm really most concerned here is just to clean up the actual threads on the stud, hoping to get any bits of rust and corrosion that might fall back into the threads as we're taking it out. All right, so there we go. So we're in as best we can be, I think. I'm going to be pushing down and turning at the same time, and hopefully we can break these things loose without too much fuss. There we go. Okay, that's good. So
yay.
Now we've gotten it to move just a little bit. That's huge, that's ginormous. Now what I'm going to do is go back the other direction. So the way I'm going to get this off is just back and forth and back and forth, because it'll start to bind if I don't. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now another thing is add some lubricant. You heard that sharp noise? That means it's dry. Go ahead and put a little bit of liquid wrench love right there. That'll help lubricate things a bit. And I'm just going to ease this guy off, back and forth and back and forth. And there's that squeaky noise again. Anytime we hear that, we add some more love. And look at that, it looks like chocolate milk coming out of that thing. There we go. We're getting there.
It's awfully squeaky.
It is squeaky. See if we can get a little more on it. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't seem to me like this penetrant actually got in as well as I had hoped. There we go.
Looks like it's moving.
Yeah. All right, I think we can take that guy out. So this is the state of these things. And you know, I'm feeling it. It's actually pretty warm. It's maybe over 100 degrees, which is pretty hot. Lots of friction. Definitely a bit corroded. All right, so we'll put this one aside and get to the next one. There it goes. Okay, there we go.
Yay!
Same deal, back and forth. Okay, that's pretty good.
That's awesome.
You can feel it. This one's actually quite hot. So that gives you an idea of the friction that we're dealing with in there. Same door deal, just a teeny bit in the beginning there. There it goes.
Wow.
That one seems happier actually. Much happier. Look at that, and it's coming right off.
Seriously.
Yeah, that was actually quite easy compared to the other two.
Which means that maybe some of the penetrating oil got in there?
Yeah, you know, that's a good point, Heidi. I think it must have, because it seems as though it was lubricated. We didn't hear it screeching like the other ones were. Now, I've hit all these the same amount each time, and this one doesn't look any better than any of the other ones whatsoever, but I think you're right, Heidi. I think that actually got through.
And is it cold?
Yes, and it's cold, exactly. Yep. So not much friction at all. That leaves us with the three on the other side here. Now, I've already loosened up these two. So let me go ahead and pull them out. All right, well, this is another possibility, is that you actually just pull the stud completely out. So that's not good. We're going to have to probably replace this stud, would be my guess, when we replace all the cap nuts. I don't think I'll get this thing off very easily. There we go. Yay. Well, this is our last cap nut. I passed over this one when I was sort of testing things because it seemed really tight. So we'll see how it goes. It just feels as though it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Nope.
Shoot.
There we go. There's a crack.
You cracked it going the other way?
Yeah, tightening it.
Huh. Interesting.
Now, the funny thing about these is that they're only in with 17 foot-pounds of torque, so they shouldn't be that tight. The ones on the top on the intake manifold came off so easily because they're not that tight. This is all corrosion. And of course on these, they've been heat cycled a zillion times. And that's what causes these things to really work themselves on and really bond. There we go. Ow.
Really?
Whoa. Yeah, this one's actually quite hot. All right, well, our next task is going to be to get these crazy nuts off the side here. And I don't know how bad they'll be, but I've got a couple of ways to get those things off, I think. So let me show you what I'm thinking. Now, we want to make sure that we hit as many of the facets of that bolt as possible. So I'm going to be using a hex or a six-sided socket, but it's still a bit occluded. We can still see that the extractor here is still kind of in the way, directly above it. So I can use a universal joint like this, or another possibility is something like this. Now, this is a crow's foot that's got a little bit of extra on the edges here. So that will fit on something like that and allow me to hook up here. So we'll give both of these a try and see how they do. The nice thing is that if they do go south, I can easily pound them off with a chisel. I'm not going to use these nuts again. I just going to have to be very careful of the studs. Let me give this, I'll give this crow's foot a try first and see how it goes. There it goes. All right.
Yay!
That's all I needed to do. But I think at this point, since our nut is loose, we should be able to get this off pretty easily with our universal joint. There we go. All right, that's the first one. It's almost where it needs to be. Almost.
Next one? That's what I was
Well, let's try this and see where we are with these.
Yeah.
And keep moving around. Make sure it's sitting as flush and straight on that nut as possible. There it goes.
Nice.
You certainly can't put down much torque with this little guy. Not much chance you'd actually strip the stud. There we go. That's the second one. There it goes. It's moving.
I heard the squeak.
All right. All right, there we go.
Yay.
We got it off. Woohoo! Yep, I think it moved.
Sounds like it.
The teeniest bit.
I see it.
There it goes.
I just never would have thought through pulling it back is going to make a big difference in keeping that thing from breaking off.
Yeah, the back and forth bit.
How warm are they?
This one, they're not too bad. Oh, look at this. This one, the whole stud's coming up. So this one loosened up the whole stud. See it moving up and down? So that's another one we pulled the stud out of. I'll have to replace that stud too, which is that's what's making it difficult. Still, much better than breaking a stud off.
That's what happened to some other people, right? Like
yeah.
Wayne.
So there we go. Pulled another stud out. Oh, look at that. That's a nice noise.
Mm-hmm. That was super easy.
That one was super duper easy, right?
That makes me suspicious.
All right, so here's a great example. These are cheap tools. I got that. I know, and this is how they fail. But you know, in some ways, I'd almost rather have the tool fail than have to fix that stud. So that's the end of this thing. And we are using 1/4-inch drives on this, which I know is just not quite enough. We really need a 3/8. All right, well, plan B. I'm more afraid I'm going to snap the stud or make a big mess. So what I'm gonna do is go at the nut with my air hammer, my air chisel here, and see if we can get it to go. So kind of the strategy is to make a mark on it and then start to hit it from an angle to loosen it up. And then sort of hit it this way. See if we can get it to go.
Yay!
Okay, well there it is. Might have to replace that one, but you can see it's dry inside the thread, so our penetrant didn't get in there at all. Okay, well that's all 12 nuts off the extractors on both sides, so that's great. We just need to disconnect the rest of our hosing and tubing here, and we should be able to pull the rest of this off. This gives us an opportunity to inspect the exhaust valves on the engine, starting from the left side rear and working forward. The first two look pretty good. It's that forward cylinder that doesn't look so great. Little more deposits than the other two, but mostly look at that junction between the cylinder and the cylinder head and all that schmutz there. That could be an indication we have a bad head stud. We'll need to investigate that a little bit further. On the right side of the engine, our rearmost cylinder does show a little bit of leakage between the cylinder and cylinder head, but it's our forward cylinder that's bad again. We're going to have to take a good look at those head studs. Well, that was a little touch and go, huh? But we managed to get both extractors off just fine, and most importantly, we didn't break a head stud. That was my biggest worry. So, okay, so everything's looking pretty good. I can see things a lot better, and I'm doing better with my diagnostics here, so that's great. Our next step is going to be to pull the valve covers on both sides and take a look at everything in there really well. And the thing I'm the most worried about are these bottom head studs. So on these engines, it's kind of important to understand that they put a different material in the head studs on the bottom than they did on the top. And this is all about expansion. So they wanted to make sure that the studs on the bottom expand at the same rate as the ones on the top, but the ones on the bottom are going to get quite a bit hotter. They're called Davalier studs, and they get a bit brittle and they can snap. And this is the reason why when you get an engine to this point, most people continue on. They go ahead and pull the heads off, and then they'll pull the cylinders out just so they can replace every one of the studs on the bottom. And I've had a couple of people comment about that. Home Built by Jeff has been through this as well. So you should check out his channel and check out his 911 engine build. It's a little older version, but it's a really cool build and he's doing a great job with it. I know this has been a very long video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and of course, questions and comments, leave them down below. We're continuing on with this project, and we got a lot of steps here that we're going to be doing. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe and hit that little bell notification to let yourself know when we post a video. You'll get a little notification. It's actually pretty cool. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and as always, a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. So until next time, safe travels. Bye.